But before we dive into the content, we thought we can give you a quick introduction in terms of who the speakers are today. So my name is Deepika. I am the managing partner here at Marquee 360, and we are a Microsoft project and portfolio management partner. So we do a lot of work on the project for the web, as well as work management, but we're also a Power Platform partner, which is where the PowerApps piece comes in. So we extend and also work with customers on specific automation projects using Power Automate. We're extending the Power Platform business unit. So this is going to be a new series of webinars that we're going to offer. I also have with me Zach. Zach, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Zach Watson, solutions architect here at Marquee 360. I have plenty of experience with Power Platform, including PowerApps, which is Canvas apps, model-driven apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and today I'm hoping to do a nice walkthrough through Canvas apps to get everybody caught up to speed with what's going on in the realm of PowerApps.
Awesome. A little bit about Marquee. As I mentioned, we originally started more as a Microsoft work management partner, but our worlds have kind of collided with the Power Platform. So a lot of development innovation happens on the Power Platform itself. Our focus areas in the Microsoft 365 platform is around innovation. We're working with the Microsoft product teams on extending the work management platform, but also building one-off applications on PowerApps as well. We do extend to the Power Platform, which is also Power Automate and Power BI, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentation today. Our focus area is also around customer success. 90% of our customers stay with us for support, so we do offer support services, but they're also great references for us. So as you go through the presentation today, if you have any needs specific to Power Platform, you want to talk to any of our customers, let us know. We do a very thorough implementation strategy with clients where we have a more of a consultative approach. We work with customers on their requirements, their big picture, their strategy, and then we go deeper into design and implementation. So, and then we, of course, focus a lot on training and support as well. So really end to end. But our whole mission at Marquee is also to train our customers so they can be self-sufficient at some point. And with the Power Platform, we can actually do that pretty nicely. All right, going into the agenda for today. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is PowerApps, why PowerApps. So you'll see some examples of PowerApps. And interestingly, when we sent this invitation out, we had a question in the registration asking our attendees what your familiarity is with PowerApps. It seems like around 70% were not familiar or somewhat familiar with PowerApps. And so we figured we would focus this session more on Canvas apps. We can go a little bit deeper on Canvas apps and show you the potential in terms of what you can do with Canvas apps within the PowerApp platform. And we'll talk about what a Canvas app is as well. So a little bit pivoting a little bit based on the answers we got on the registration, but I think you're going to find this useful irrespective. So just a little bit of background from a Microsoft perspective. When we started on the Power Platform journey, which was a few years ago, like 3 years ago, PowerApps had just been launched. And the whole premise on the Microsoft side of things was there's a huge push for application modernization. There's a huge demand for digital modernization, but there is definitely not enough developers and skills available to meet that demand. So what Microsoft did was they launched PowerApps, which is a part of the Power Platform. And the whole idea here is to really empower your business users to solve their own business problems with a low-code, no-code solution like PowerApps. So if you think about PowerApps specifically, it helps different members of your organizations to get a little bit more self-sufficient. So your citizen developers, which we call your business users, who want to be able to like build their own applications. They're currently working in Excel. They can still write formulas and expressions, but they want to build something that specifically fits their needs. PowerApps is super useful for that group of users. IT and pro developers have also taken on to PowerApps because it's made it much easier and quicker for them to build applications. And you'll see some of that today in the demo as well. So the whole idea with PowerApps was to empower the business users to build applications, but then also make it super easy for developers. I can tell you from our perspective at Marquee, this has changed the way we work with customers. We used to build custom solutions for clients, and then the clients were stuck with that custom code, and then we would stay on and keep on supporting them, which was great for us as well. But with the Power Platform, we're presently using PowerApps to build applications. We train our customers on how we build the applications. Some customers feel super comfortable taking it to the next level. Some customers keep us on for support, but you're not stuck with a custom application with custom code that your development team or your IT organization has to then maintain. Okay. So there is a lot on the PowerApps platform. And so we're going to kind of break it down for you. And we're going to have like a few different webinars coming up as well. Dates are to be determined, but just to give you an idea of like what this whole picture is going to look like. So today we're going to focus on building simple apps using Canvas apps. But as you learn more about Canvas apps, we will then have a session to show you more about model-driven apps, which are a little bit more complex business applications, but they're very robust and very easy to build. We'll have a session where we talk a little bit about Power Automate. So Power Automate is the workflow management, the business automation part of the Power Platform. We'll also show you some insights in terms of reports and dashboards with Power BI in one of our sessions. And then how do the three kind of come together as well. Chatbots, very popular demand right now. We're seeing a lot of our customers coming to us with, hey, like, I need to build a chatbot for sales. I need to build a chatbot for support. So we'll do a session to show you how you can build your own chatbot. We'll also talk a little bit about Copilot, which is a new AI functionality that Microsoft is launching. We'll have a session on SharePoint Designer and Power Automate. If you're using InfoPath, you'll be able to see a session about InfoPath and Power Apps. And then we'll also talk a little bit about extending the line of business applications that you might have into other applications. So all of this is within the Power Apps platform along with Power Platform, but we kind of try to break it down just because we're seeing different levels of familiarity with that registration. So today, before I hand it over to Zach, we're going to focus specifically on Canvas apps, and then you'll see more information coming from us for this web series as well. All right, Zach, all yours.
Thank you, Deepika. So jumping into Power Apps, it's first important to understand, what is a Power App? We can use these terms all we want, but it is really important to understand what a Power App actually is. So Power Apps as a term, it is a suite of Microsoft products that really let developers and, as Deepika said, those citizen developers get their hands dirty and build their own applications. And importantly, it is a low-code, no-code set of tools that help you when you're trying to fulfill your business needs. So there's two types of Power Apps. There's Canvas apps and there's model-driven apps. An important distinction between the two is when you hear the word Canvas, you might think of like an art canvas where you start completely blank from scratch and you can do a lot of different things. And that's how you could think of a Canvas app, is it really is a blank canvas for you to go and create whatever you want. There's a lot more flexibility and a lot more freedom, and we'll get into that shortly. With model-driven apps focus more on your data schema, and they're a little bit more rigid as far as UI is concerned. You don't have a lot of customization options, and some people could see that as a bit of an obstacle, but it does make developing really a no-code solution. Next slide, please. So diving into Canvas apps. So Canvas apps are one of the kinds of Power Apps that you have at your fingertips, and you can make these with very minimal coding. There's a lot of great things about Power Apps that we can highlight, and there's a few other things to take note of as well. First is the UI is extremely highly customizable. When you think of a blank canvas, you really can do whatever you want. And with a Canvas app, that's just what you're going to get. There's going to be numerous options for, color, text size. There's all these different things that you can do with the Canvas app to fit your exact wants in terms of look and feel. And you can also connect with a wide range of data sources, where with a model-driven app, you are sort of limited to Dataverse. There's workarounds and other things you can do, integrating Power Automate and things of that nature. But with a Canvas app, you can directly connect to things like SharePoint, Dataverse. You can pull in a flow directly as well. So there's just a lot of options for connections there. Some things to note, though. Oh, sorry, Topeka, would you mind? Some things to note, though, are sorry, it'll require a bit more coding depending on the complexity of your Canvas app. If you want to build something that is, a bit more on the complex side, it's going to take more time and resources and effort to have that made. And that's a universal thing to think about as well. If it's going to be more complex, it'll take more time. But with Canvas apps, that's especially important when it comes to coding. You will have to face more coding the more complex you want your Canvas app to be. And with this, it makes UI design a little bit more complex as well if you decide to get into the more complicated things, whereas a model-driven app would be much less complicated. And lastly, I do want to say, if you're not familiar, Microsoft has recently been showing off a lot of Copilot capabilities, and we can actually get a good stepping stone, like a advanced starting point, if you will, with a Canvas app, where we don't have to start with a blank canvas, because Copilot will give us that kickstart and give us something to work with that's a little bit less intimidating. Next slide. So just wanted to run through some examples of Canvas apps and some things that you can do. And importantly to note, as you can see in the pictures here on the right side, there's phones, and there's also a tablet desktop screen. So you can create a Canvas app to fit any resolution. It's what we call responsive applications, and these can fit any kind of resolution you want. You could build one app that works on the phone and it has a companion for the desktop, or you can build a single app that is responsive enough to where it can actually work on both screens respectively. So looking at these examples, there's an expense tracker, track your expenses. You've got open, pending, approved, and you can scroll through the list. There's a help desk ticket tracker where you can, log in as a user and submit a ticket, or as an admin to update or assign, approve, what have you, all the rest of these tickets. And then finally, on the bottom right, there's this office management application where you could reserve desk space and that sort of thing. So that just goes to show the versatility of a Canvas app and, the possibilities of what you could do with these Canvas apps. So first things first, when you're going in to make a Canvas app, is you need to know where. You need to know where to go. And with that, we're going to try to navigate to PowerApps. Now, there's a few ways to do this, but I find it really easy to look in just a few places. First is on the 365 website. You can navigate to apps on the left-hand side and hit developer tools here. and you'll see PowerApps. And if you visited it frequently enough, you can also, in the waffle on the top left, navigate to PowerApps here. What I like to do is I like to just type in make.powerapps.com, and it'll take me right there. And then I can, bookmark this page, and it'll show up at the top here. So along with that, secondly, is solutions. When you are working on a application, any kind of thing within PowerApps, it's important to have a place to contain your applications. In this case, a solution would be that container. So you can think of it as an analogy to cooking. When you cook and you're done cooking, you don't just grab the food with your hands and shove it in the fridge as it is. You need to package that nicely into a container so there's no mess, everything's in one place, and you know what you have, right? And that's how we can think of solutions, is they help us contain what we make so that we can easily reference things and there's less mess. Another quick thing to note about PowerApps and development in general on this back-end view is your environment. So on the top right, you can see my environment. I'm in a demo environment right now, just doing demonstrations, but environments are a higher step up of container, if you will, right? So maybe you have an environment for development and an environment for production. Well, you don't want to be playing around in your production environment. So that's why it's always important to just take a look at the top right and make sure that we're in the right place, making the right changes. And if you don't see anything there, if you're working with a bigger company and you're supposed to see a development environment and maybe you don't see anything at all, or maybe you're in prod, you want to make sure you're making these changes in the right places. So the easiest thing to do is just contact your IT department, make sure you have the right licensing, make sure you're logged into the right account, things like that, just to make sure that you are making the right changes in the right places. Okay, so with all that preliminary stuff out of the way, I do want to mention that you are more than welcome to ask any questions in the chat as you have them. Deepika is monitoring the chat, and she'll just make sure that we get those questions answered, and I'll keep going here. So with the easy stuff out of the way, and just understanding kind of where we are situated within PowerApps, on the left side, we can navigate to this Apps tab here. And when we do, we'll be able to see a list of existing apps here. I have one, company event ideas, but we're just going to start a new app. And we're going to make an app with Copilot because it's really great and it gives us that jump start that we need to make these things work and just get a better start to our application. So if I just click on Start with Copilot here, it will ask us, here's a table for your app. Describe what your new app should do. And I could say something simple like, I want a database for employees, including first name, last name, email, phone, and an ID. And I want an application that hosts this database for employees because, say, it was a business requirement and IT is really lacking, and we just need some way to keep track of what's going on internally. Employee database application would be for that. So I typed in what I wanted. Copilot said, here you go, here's a table. Pretty straightforward process. I can then say, okay, well, maybe I want the IDs in the ID column to have a prefix of M360 and then a dash. And so I will tell Copilot that, and it will very quickly make that change. And we can see IDs changed from 0001 to having that prefix that I had specified. And from here, I'm just going to click on Create App, and we'll let Copilot run its course. And while it does this, I really feel like it would be important to highlight just how crazy, the speed and it's just really insane how 6 months ago this whole process would have been manual. It would have taken, if not a couple hours, maybe a day or two, just to get to this point that you see here. And Copilot is really helping and speed up that development process, that manual, from scratch, slow development process. And here you can see in the past 4 minutes, I told Copilot what I wanted, and it created this app for me. So it is really amazing to see where this technology is coming, and it's still in preview. So there's still a lot of things that are coming out with this, and the future is very exciting for this tool. So as you can see, we have this employee database application. We have our employees. We can see on the left side, we could create a new one. We can navigate through all of the existing ones. If I just hit play here, we can navigate through all of the existing ones. We can see it gives us the information that we specified. If we wanted to, we could delete one. I'm sure I want to delete Emily Williams's record, and it works. And it works on start. And I didn't have to do any coding. I just told Copilot what I wanted. And this is great, but it is also limited. You know, you can't ask Copilot to land a rover on Mars, because it's not going to do that. It is still in preview, and it is relatively simple, but it is just that extra jump start that helps us quickly begin the development process. And then once I'm done with Copilot, I'll close the Copilot tab, and I'll come in and I'll make whatever manual changes I wanted. Say I want first name and last name to be next to each other, and I want to move email down. So I'll come over here on the right side where there's an editor, and I can go to the fields of my form, and I can make that change. And there's plenty of other, room for activity here within the Canvas app. You can add new records, or I'm sorry, new fields to this form. If I wanted to add a button that did whatever I wanted, I can just come in here and add a button, and I can begin coding like that. On the left side is your navigation pane, so we can see all of the individual elements inside of the application. Copilot and all of the example apps have a lot of these containers, and again, containers are your friend. All of these containers really help give this the look that it has. Without the containers, you just have a jumbled mess, right? So containers are your friend when you're developing with PowerApps. Up at the top here, there's a few options for, see this button, I can modify the font, the text size, if it's bold or not. We have the option to insert new controls, and there's tons and tons of controls as well. There's text labels that are just read-only text. There's text input if you want your users to be able to input text. There's shapes. There's, I don't know, about 100 icons in here, tons and tons of stuff to play with. Buttons, date pickers. You can put in HTML text if you want a clickable URL, some layout things for visual control, things like that. There's tons and tons of options here. And that's the versatility of a Canvas app. So I also quickly wanted to go in and show the simplicity of a Canvas app as well. So here I spent maybe 15, 20 minutes before the webinar just creating a very, very basic application that is a company event ideas list. And here, if I hit play, you can enter an idea. We'll just say, idea. And you can select a date, say tomorrow, and then it has my email already filled in, and I cannot change that. And how easy the coding side is, I've just got a couple lines of code here to copy and paste and show you, is I've just got a simple button, and when I press this button, I want it to take my ideas and I want it to put them in the list. So first thing we need to do is make sure that we have some kind of place to store the list, right? Take what text is in here and put it in the list. So when I click the button, I want to collect the information. And then I want to, after I've hit submit, reset the options here. So, the next person coming, or if I have another idea, I don't have to erase everything. And then after that, I also want to make sure that I can't submit anything if I haven't typed anything. If the user doesn't type in an idea, we don't want them to submit that. So we can navigate to our display mode on the right side. And I have some code here, some simple code that says if this idea box is blank, gray out the submit button, and it won't be clickable. And just like that, I have my company event idea tracker. So I can say, Super Bowl, if I could spell, sorry, Super Bowl watch party, right? And I want that to happen. We're a little late, right? But let's say we're going to watch the Super Bowl on Monday. There it is, Super Bowl watch party on February 12th, 2024. And who submitted it? Zach. And that's pretty much it. That's Canvas apps in a nutshell. There's tons and tons of options and different things that you can do. It's an extremely versatile application. The limit really is your imagination in terms of what you want to complete. And then, of course, don't forget, as you increase the complexity of your application, you increase the amount of back-end coding that you may need to do. But it is still really easy to jump in and get started, especially with Copilot. Okay. Thank you very much.
So we do have a number of ways to help organizations get started on PowerApps or extend their expertise in PowerApps as well. So one thing that has been super popular recently has been just basic training. So doing a training specifically for your users, 4 hours, 8-hour training to build an app together, kind of show you all the details of Canvas app, dive a little bit into model-driven app as well. So we do have training sessions. Reach out to us, and we can share with you some training outlines. We also do a lot of PowerApps consulting work. So if you have a specific need and it's a process automation project or something that needs modernization, like you're using Excel for something or InfoPath, and you want it to be more modern for more employee engagement, we do consulting services where we come in and hear more about your requirements. We look at your specific app, and then we'll give you some estimates in terms of what it would cost to upgrade to PowerApps. The one thing that has been super popular with Zach recently is workshops. So customers want the apps. They also want to learn how to build apps. So we've been doing a lot of workshops where we work with you. And Zach, I don't know if you want to describe what you're doing at Bush Brothers.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really straightforward. The customer wants to build this app, but they're maybe lacking on experience, or maybe they do know how, but they might have a ton of questions. And so what I'll do is I'll just sit alongside the development process and make sure that their questions get answered, they get help when they need it, and just making sure everything goes smoothly.
And just also helping them with design, because that's a big part of the PowerApp piece, is just putting your heads together and thinking about how the app is going to look, how it's going to behave, things like that. We also work with IT organizations to establish center of excellence. The whole concept of citizen developers sounds amazing, but it can become an IT nightmare. So we've been working with some IT organizations to kind of monitor like where these apps are being built, who's building the apps, how can IT support them, and so on and so forth. So wide variety of services, and we're here to help if you are interested in starting on this journey or extending where you already are. And I believe that's all we had. We have some upcoming webinars, which you'll see in an email as well.